Hello, how are you? Today we have Jocelyn with us and we are going to talk about how to show up like you online. It's an interesting topic and the speaker that we have is also very interesting. She was homeless at 7 and got a home by 30. So she's a homeowner in a way. And she has a series called Tiny Tips on YouTube. So, what does she do? She helps us control our brain, and we will know why and how can we do the same things which she does or she helps people do. Hi, how are you, Jocelyn? Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am great. So, first thing first, what is a brain coach?
Yeah, right. Get right into it. A brain coach is somebody who helps people clarify their thinking. So we often have a lot of stories running under the surface. I like to call them BS or brain stories that are running under the surface that we're not aware of. And those can cause a lot of grief, frustration, anxiety, imposter syndrome, self-sabotagey behaviors. And it's just really looking at those, taking a moment to recognize them and learning how to flip the script. So you have more calm and joy and ease and flow and fun.
Okay. So, how was your journey from what you were to what you are now? So, you are a brain coach right now, but how did you go on your journey, which was there? And what is your story then?
Right. I should start by saying I was always interested in the brain. I was the kid in biology class who insisted on dissecting the pig's brain, so it was not part of the assignment. Um, and I got more interested in it later when my dad had a stroke in my 20s. He lost his ability to speak, and I was devastated. And that's when I got really interested in learning about neuroplasticity and seeing that you can change your brain. He eventually regained his ability to speak and tell dad jokes. So that worked out. And fast forward to when I started an agency in my how old was I? My mid or late 20s, and yeah, mid 20s. I started an agency called Scribe, and it was all I wanted to do was write and help people tell stories and just be able to afford a piece of chicken and rent. And it blew up. I got really busy and I had to quickly build a team. And so I did that. And ended up serving these really big multinational, multi-billion dollar companies. So this kid, in her tiny bedroom, um, figuring out the brand voice and narratives for these big companies and learning how to create brand voice. And then that turned into leading workshops, training marketing teams all around the world how to tell better stories and how to own their brand voice. It was going really well, but I got burnt out. And I heard talking a bit earlier, COVID came as I was sort of thinking, how am I going to transition to something else? I had secretly gotten this brain coaching certification and I was secretly coaching people, but I had a troubled relationship with the word coach. I needed to rebrand that for myself. So how do I say no to all this work that's been my bread and butter for, 10 plus years? COVID comes along, poof, all that work goes away. And I'm like, well, here's my opportunity to start over and really own it. And so it's really taken me a few months to step into that. And I literally just changed my title on LinkedIn, just owned it. I'm brain coach. That's what I do. I love it. So here we are. And I launched that tiny tip series on your brain stories. So
So, while we talk about going online and doing stuff, so usually people think it is just about posting things, or is it anything else, or how do you define going online for people? And then we will jump on to what are the things. So, how do you define how people are online?
oh wow, that's a
It's a
loaded
broad question.
question, isn't it?
So, what is
um
your definition of people being online? Because everybody has a different definition of while they are online. For my mother, being online means just being on WhatsApp because that is the only social media network she has.
mm,
She has Facebook. For my father, Facebook and WhatsApp are the online world. He I think around a month back got on Twitter just because he saw me tweeting a lot of things on my laptop, and then he was like, "What is this? I want to get on this," and those kind of things. So, definition of online is very different for person to person. So, what is your definition of being online or being having an online presence?
Right. Yeah, I think I like to dabble a lot. So I think I'm mostly active on LinkedIn, which I really picked up in the last couple of years. And I only got on Reddit, for example, about a
Yes.
year ago. And I think you're quite active on there. I think that's I saw some of your really awesome articles you were linking to. I won't reveal your name, your Reddit name. So and I've been playing just kind of what is TikTok about, put a couple of things up there, what's going on in Clubhouse. I like to explore. And also, I took a break from Facebook, which I highly recommend. Um, and and I use Instagram. So Instagram and LinkedIn the most, and then kind of dabbling. And I know there's some wisdom in choose one, do it well. And I agree with that. On the other hand, if you want to go play around in a bunch of stuff, go freaking do it. Like what do you have to lose? So that's where I am.
Great. So when we talk about branding for you in a way, how people can be online. So what are the first steps that somebody has to clear in their head? Sorry, not hand, but hand should always be clear. We are in COVID times. We have to wash them for 20 seconds. But what are the things where people can get things cleared in their head first and then start? So what would be your recommendation on that?
Before you start, I mean, my inclination is to say it's this advice I love, which is start before you're ready. As I think a lot of people want things to be perfect and they want to say the perfect thing, and then they will just spin in that forever. I mean, how long does it take to make something perfect? The answer is how long is a piece of string, right? It's like you'll do it forever until you feel ready. And
True.
there is no perfect, there is no ready. So that's my first inclination. Now that said, um, I think you have to experiment and don't just share to share. I don't want to discourage people from sharing, so I hesitate saying that, but it is, share something that makes you laugh, that you would want to share with a friend or a colleague naturally. Like this is super cool. I think this is really, you could learn something from this. This made me laugh. And think of it from that. It's sort of coming from a place of service, right? How is this going to brighten somebody's day or make their day better?
Understood. Great. So, when you coach people or when you say that you're coaching them, I know you don't like that word, but I think by now you would have got that thing out. So, what is the first thing that you try to do with them? Or so mostly when I do coaching with people or when I do one to one, first thing which I say to them is do a SWOT analysis of yourself. So that is my
Mm,
first to-do list which I give them. So do a SWOT analysis, and then you will understand what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses in that way. So for
right.
individuals, if we take this as a masterclass or a small masterclass around brain, so what would be your recommendations?
Yeah, well, I have a program called. I hope I can say this here.
Yeah, yeah,
I
you
mean,
can
you saw my
completely say.
profile, so okay. It's called Find Your Fuck Yeah. So find your fuck yeah. The very first thing is what the fuck are you thinking? Like, literally what is on your mind, and brain dump it. Like, get it out. Sort of if you were to organize your closet or your office, you would just literally pull everything out, dump it on the floor, and then you can start to organize and sort and put things in a priority order. So I like to get people thinking about what is it that you most want. As in the brain coaching, it's based on what I learned in Leadership Institute. It's solution focused. It's looking at what you want and building on that versus what isn't working, um, or focusing too much on your weaknesses are, because I think human brains are very good at
Yes.
calling those things out. So it's okay. Let's sort out these piles of thought and then come up with the headline for one of these piles that makes you go, fuck yes, I want that. Might even feel a little silly, like I want to own the stage with swagger, or something that you might feel a little shy to share, but there's something in you going, yes, I really want that though. And that's where we start.
Great. So I think it's a very good starter point for anybody to understand that this is what. And the number one thing which I liked, what you said was our brain focuses a lot on the negative part a lot of times. And this is what I cannot do. This is what I cannot do, and this is what I cannot do. Those kind of things. Uh,
Mm.
when we go online, and do you think with Instagram coming in the place, people are always showing what they're happy about, and it is just the happy world? And Instagram is the happy world which I see, and there isn't any sorrow. There is very less of negativity there, if at least we see. But there is a lot of envy. Whatever people are uploading is just about a new car, new place they have visited, and the nice things with all the filters there. What is your take on those things?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's like in real life, we have a really strong negativity bias. And then we
Yeah,
go online, particularly like you said, Instagram. I think we can see more negativity on some of the other
true.
stations.
Twitter,
So yeah,
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 Twitter is
yeah.
full
Ooh,
of that.
Twitter. Whew.
Yeah,
Um,
Twitter is more
but
negative than we are in real life. That is what sometimes I
yeah,
feel.
it is. It's an interesting spectrum of social media. What is bringing what out of us, I guess.
Yeah,
And yeah, Instagram is largely seems like curated sweetie pie
yeah.
experience. It's like there's too much sugar in it sometimes. And
The
how do you
Cinderella's
get a
world, I think.
more yeah, it's like get a more balanced diet.
Yeah,
There are some people who are kind of sharing a more real authentic, and that doesn't mean you have to go and like film yourself crying or anything, but I do think people are craving real, and it's even acknowledging when you're showing, like right now, you can, the people listening can't see, but I'm showing you the curated version of my office. You can
yeah.
see like I framed it well. What you don't see, and again, people can't see, I'm showing the mess that is out of
Oh,
frame, right? It's like, but that's the reality. And I think sometimes we want to see that. We want to see what is behind the perfection. Like if
yeah,
you're, if you show this really polished thing, then but what did it take to get there? And how long does that stay polished?
true. And as you rightly said, people nowadays also want to see the behind the scenes. And if you see big um, clubs like Manchester United and those kind of people, they now their Instagram is full of the behind the scenes, what is happening in the rooms after the players come back. We on Amazon Prime had a whole series. I think in the States, cricket is not so famous, but in Europe and South Asian countries, cricket is very famous. So they had a whole show around the back office of the behind the scenes for a cricket team in that way. So what happens in the dressing room and how the coaches are trying to pump up the player and those kind of things, and which is what people like to see. What really goes behind the players who are going to play. The same goes for football, same goes for NBA and those kind of things where people like to see what the players are doing and what they are not. So
Yeah.
in the online world, how would you define what kind of personality traits should somebody show or they should not show in a way? So which kind of things are perfect if you want to show? Because a lot of people, when they get angry, they start tweeting and those kind of things, or they write long posts on Instagram with a lot of caption targeting maybe people in the stories and those kind of things. So what are your to do things and do's and don'ts in that way when you are
Mm.
online?
I mean, again, my first inclination is say like be real, like share your shit. If you're angry, it's okay to be angry, but own your own anger. Don't direct it at other people and ask yourself, is this helpful? Am I just venting to vent, or am I making someone? Can I make someone laugh with this venting, myself included? Can I shine new light on a situation? Because there are things to genuinely be angry about. I mean, look what happened in the last um, year, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of shit that needed to be called out. And but you don't want to just stay there, and you don't want to just sit and wallow and feed the beast, right? It's sort of like, hey, this stuff sucks, but let's do something about it, right? So I think it's, if you are sharing those things, acknowledge that, and find a way to move on and bring people. How can we bring people up from out of the swamp when we're in it? It's very easy to stay there. The swamp of sadness for my never ending story fans out there. So that's yeah, that's one thing. And there is such a thing, I think, as TMI, like oversharing. Like nobody
Yes,
really needs to see what you're doing in the bathroom, probably, or you know, uh, it maybe in-depth operations. I don't know. I think I I think it's so contextual. It's like person by person. Follow your gut. If you feel a little bit afraid to share something that's really honest and you
yeah,
really care about it, probably share it because you're sharing something human and vulnerable, and we respond to that, and we need to feel seen and heard and connect with people on that level. But if you're just sharing because you're completely enraged and on fire or completely in sorrow and miserable, there's more productive ways to do that. And maybe like
true.
seek out a therapist if it's really that bad.
So you said one thing which I liked a lot. When you said you share it with your friends in a way, and so you must have a lot of friends who, not a lot, but we always have a handful of friends whom we turn up to whenever we are sad. And Facebook started as a company where people can find friends. LinkedIn is a place where people find their professional network in a way. So, how do you define those things where it was meant to get friends, but then there is a persona which we carry on in this online world, which a lot of people don't see or don't know from what we are actually.
Mm. Yeah, it's like we have these different aspects of our persona
Yeah.
shining through in different spaces. Yeah, and it's so on Facebook, like I said, I took a break from it, and then I went back. I made everything private, changed my profile picture to my cat, and I was like, I don't really know if I want to be on Facebook. I don't really
True.
care for it, and um, and I think it's one of the most alluring and toxic places that there can be. That said, some of the groups I'm in are freaking fabulous, and I think it's a place where people can tend towards oversharing
True.
their misery and pain and anger and frustration. Um, in in Twitter, you have that the extreme end of that where people are just sort of like blistering insults hurled at each other.
Yeah.
um, and then Instagram, people are tend to share that more happy,
Then they are.
shiny people. Yeah. And then LinkedIn, I think it's yeah, I don't know how I have the answer for that. But I do see these trends. And on LinkedIn, a lot of people, my issue with LinkedIn people on LinkedIn is they feel so often they need to be this extremely buttoned up version of themselves. And that is also a problem I see in most office and corporate life. And it's putting up a veneer that is destroying our ability to be completely real and connect with each other in the
Very true.
office. And that's what I would like to see change on LinkedIn is just have more fucking fun, guys. Like it's okay. We're human beings. And oh my God, like stop being so boring. Just like share stuff that's more interesting. Um, I don't know if I really answered that question. There's my babble on that.
No issues. But I think the information shared was useful. So then I can go ahead with it. So when we talk about being an agency owner, there's a lot of frustration which a agency owner gets because they are juggling between projects and then there are deadlines. Plus, we have payments which we want to recover, and there is always a never-ending problem with the whole team, the communication. Though we use a lot of tools, but then those are the problems if you were a social media agency, design agency, or any of kinds. So, how, as a person who knows or has been a coach of brain, how did you deal with those things, or what were your go-to strategies for the same?
Managing all of that
Yeah,
back end. Woo! Been experimenting with different things. I mean, when I first started, it was horrible. I would just go be on spreadsheets, like manually updating information. I would send a spreadsheet that I customized to every contractor. They would update their information. I would aggregate it, and I did everything myself. Right? It's like that solopreneur sob story, and it was terrible. Spent probably some cases 5 to 10 hours just reconciling and managing that kind of stuff, sending out the invoices, etc. And then I started tinkering with other tools and using things like FreshBooks and QuickBooks. And what really helped me was getting a bookkeeper. It's like if numbers aren't your strength, especially,
True.
and you spend more time than you should, outsource it and find. I think what you guys are doing is really interesting too, because when we have too many disparate tools, we can get overwhelmed. And it's really nice, just sort of how do you make it as simple as possible and streamline it as much as you can,
Yes.
so you're not having 5 to 10
Multiple.
different things to manage. Yeah.
Okay. So, when it comes to managing, I think one is that you use tools to manage the things, and what kind of things were used to manage people in a way. So then there are different teams, different combination, different projects in a way. And what were the tricks or tips that were helpful for you to manage the team in a way?
Hmm. Very first thing that comes to mind is clear and frequent communication. Share what you expect and share praise. Let people know when they're doing things well, and make them feel appreciated and seen, and address issues as soon as they come up. And the way that we address issues, I think the style of communicating is so important. If we are frustrated because someone hasn't completed a task, for example, I've seen this a lot with executives, and they can be a very direct style of communicating, saying,
Okay.
why didn't you do this yet? Instead of, this isn't done, why didn't you do it yet? Put someone on the defensive.
Back
And
foot,
if
yeah.
yeah, you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm quitting. um
Was
and,
doing
and
that in my early years and realized
yeah.
it the bad way. The same you said, people started quitting, and so
Yeah, and it's because, as the leader, sometimes you're short. You could be a short fuse and short on time, and you're just like, you're
it's
trying to
just
get the
because I think
information.
it happens because of the pressure that you have, and things which people in the bottom of the line do not understand, or second in command also sometimes don't understand, because you as a founder know that you have to pay a lot of bills, not
Yeah,
just at your home, at a lot of people's home.
yeah,
And for getting those things done, you will have to run a bit more than what usually people are running.
yeah.
And
It's very easy to get stressed and like to just kind of, and it's funny because like the more efficient we are with communication, sometimes the worse we are at it, because it's like saying, why didn't you do this, is the first thing that comes to mind, but it causes a rift in the relationship. And if
true.
instead we could say, I noticed this isn't done, is this important to you? How can we address this so this doesn't happen again? Just being more collaborative when you're communicating things when you're stressed out, which puts more of the onus on the leader to take a beat and be in command of your brain and your thoughts.
Yeah.
Take a beat and go, okay, what is the best way to resolve this versus what is the fastest way for me to vent that this isn't working? Um,
Yes.
that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, just be clear with your people, and lavish praise when they're doing things well.
Great. So I think the major issue which happens is the expectation versus reality checks, which a lot of people get in real life also, in online world also. Somebody tweets something, and then you are outrageous that, oh, how can this star do this thing, or how can somebody do that thing, and in those ways. So, what kind of things should somebody always have in mind while reading things online, or maybe following? As you said, there are a lot of coaches which tell people to do few things, and then when those coaches are not following what they are saying, their followers just become delusional, or something of that sort. That what is happening with them, because they were seeing somebody as their mentors, and suddenly they see those people falling on the ground again,
Mm.
and then they are like, whom to follow now, or what to believe. Is
Right.
there any experience of such kinds that you have seen around?
Yeah, that's good too. I think you have great questions. I think
Oh, thanks a lot.
one thing, one thing is, don't idolize people. Like, we're all humans. We're just
Yeah.
trying to do our best. And if you have someone online you really look up to, remind yourself that that person is human too, and they might snap at their husband or wife or partner or
True.
cat, whatever, when they're upset. Um, and we say things that sometimes we regret, and it's like the best thing we can do is learn from it. And face, like, look in the mirror and go, "Ooh, I could do better. Let's do better next time." And the other thing is when you're feeling really triggery about something online, it's like take a beat, take a step away from it. This is just somebody typing frantically behind a screen. Think of the last time that you typed something that wasn't your best, like you're
Yeah,
being maybe kind of a jerk, or something you wished you deleted or maybe did delete, something in the heat of the moment, like somebody said something in Twitter, you're like, no, you're dumb. And just remind yourself of that. It's like usually when we feel the most triggered, someone is reminding us of the thing in ourselves that we don't like.
don't like. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Will Smith said something like that when his son was getting bashed at around 18 years or 17 years old when he was. And Will Smith, he tweeted something online, and then everybody was after him that you are a star, you need to understand these things and that thing. And then Will Smith came and said, when I was 17, I was not one tenth intelligent as he was or he is currently. So it is good that we did not have Twitter at that time, or else nobody would have followed me for rest of my life because of the things which he used to say at 17. So do you feel due to over communication or maybe simplification of communication, we are seeing the outrage which we are seeing around? Because everybody used to say something or the else, and everybody used to forget things, but now everything is getting noted. So in a way, when you were 18, 17, not a lot of things are noted when you were 18, 17. But for people who are 20 to 26 just now, like me, we created our Facebook accounts when we were in school, colleges, and those time. So everything that we did has been documented somewhere,
Right.
and somebody can go back and see what we did or what kind of things that we did in that way. So we have a slam book which is online, and anybody can go and bring out the dark past any day that they want. uh, what do you feel about those things? Has this been simple, or it is just making life complicated?
No, that again, a good question. Oh man, I don't have an answer for that. It's like insane. I can't imagine. I am so glad I did not have, like, internet came out when I was a kid, right? Like I was in I think maybe 14 or something when we first got the dial up. That whole thing.
That was a great time though.
Um and yeah, and it's like the good old days. And it, took a while. We'd have our chat and everyone would have their ridiculous AOL username or whatever, and it was more anonymous. It's
Yeah,
more like Reddit. And uh, I think it's just so, because I don't, kids and young people should not have to police themselves online. Like, you're learning, right? And you should say stupid stuff sometimes and figure it out. Get
yeah,
your hand slapped proverbially, um and this, you're learning. Like, your frontal lobe isn't even developed fully until you're in your early 30s for most people. So I mean, it's like, how do we create a system that supports this experimenting and learning without endorsing being a jerk, right? It's such a tenuous balance. I think I would not want young people to self-censor to the point that they're not being true and they're not learning. um and on the other hand, it's like, but also just don't be an asshole, like, um just try not to be mean to people. And if you have something mean to say, like, say it to their face in person. Don't be a coward and only do it online.
yeah.
I guess that's my best advice. And if you are going to say stuff online, like, try to focus on the more positive thing, because we do see so much. um
Negativity around.
yeah.
Great. Uh, when it comes to being online, and so there's always a way, as I asked a question few moment ago, that you have to show your best self. It is what is the prerequisite what a lot of people see. So while you said that there isn't a perfect content, uh, but you won't get a perfect content to post. It will take a lot of time to create those things. But do you see that people have that thing that they have to show their best self? So if they're posting an Instagram picture, it is not going to be real. They have to upload it with a lot of filters and those kind of things. And The real life is slowly and gradually coming at the back foot in a way. Uh, is that the case when you try to teach people about being online?
All right. I think my inclination when I hear best self is like, ugh, stop with all the best self shit. But then on the other hand, I kind of agree with it, right? It's like we want to be uh good humans. We want to
True.
enjoy our lives. We
Yes.
want to feel loved, and we want to connect with people and feel seen and heard and return the favor. But again, we're humans and we mess up and we do stuff that's weird. And I think it's like don't worry about being quote your best. Just be you. Just be real in the moment. Recognize that you are allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to have strong opinions, but so are other people. And you are not here alone. I think a lot of us can get stuck in like we think that the world revolves around us. It's like, but what about me? You should be doing better. You should be nicer to me. Um, and it's just allowing this kind of forgiveness and softness, especially when you're being really hard and sharing stuff, those strong opinions and things. And then yeah, don't over curate stuff. It's like people, I think that's some people's brand. Like I think Kim Kardashian is a good example of a very curated brand, and Beyonce,
Mm.
like they know what they want to be putting out there, and it's this very polished. This is what you see. Only this. I think that's great for them. That's what they want. But when everybody else tries to copycat that, we lose something,
True.
and we lose a lot of humanity. And like we were talking about earlier, that behind the scenes stuff, the authenticity. Um, so don't, I guess like go back to that, don't censor yourself too. Like just sometimes just let shit out, let your hair down, show the mess. Excuse me.
Yeah. So being real is very important, and I think the crux of the conversation that we are going to have, uh, or we are having right now, is that to be the real you. Uh, when we try to be the real us, and there are a lot of compliances which a lot of companies also have. So like you said, on LinkedIn people behave like it's a way too much professional network. They have it looks like they are having their ties always on when they are posting on LinkedIn or when they are on LinkedIn. It's way too formal. But do you feel that sometimes on those kind of networks it is due to the company requisites also, that
Mm.
few of them are sales reps and few of them have to do these things, like in the country where we are from India, in MBA colleges it is compulsory for them to wear suits to the college. It is, and in engineering you can wear whatever you want, but if you are an MBA, you need to wear suits. And it is
Mm-hmm.
just it's not testing your knowledge or telling people that you are knowledgeable. It is just to authorize that yeah, you are one step higher now. In those sense there are a lot of ways in which people do those things, but yeah, suits are in a way to tell people yeah, I know much more stuff than you know, in a way.
Yeah.
So do you feel in the same way people on LinkedIn also feel that? Is that the case?
Oh, for sure. And I'm recognizing as we're talking about this, like I'm clearly very American, right? Like I grew up in a culture where I'm allowed and encouraged to express who I am and be
Yeah,
individualistic, and that can come at a cost, right? And I think because then we think that we're more important than other people in some ways, and we're less supportive of social structure, and um,
everybody has
so
freedom.
yeah, and
Yeah,
kind of then to a point.
individualistic. Yeah, individual freedom is I think given more weightage in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah, and you can see this last year brought out so much. It's like people demand, no, I get to say what I want, and even if it's bullshit, it's like
yeah.
stupid, whatever. I get to say it. I get to believe it. It's my right. Um, so that said, I don't know what it's like to grow up in another culture where you have to be more reserved or it's more expected. I don't. I think me put there now, I'd be like, I would explode. What do I do? because I really love expressiveness and exploring, and I think that's part of what makes life fun is you get to everyone's a little bit different. Uh, yeah, but for sure, I think there's a pressure in LinkedIn, and if you're part of a corporate culture that's very buttoned up,
Yeah.
especially, or there's some industries, a financial industry and the insurance industry in particular, you have this expectation of the suits, and you're very polished, and like these people never fart. It's like it's like uh, this again that
High
veneer.
handness.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. Putting on the suit is like, this is a sign that I know more than you do. I think
Yeah.
people do that with their language too. It's like, if I say these big words and I can pretend that I'm smarter. And why? Like, let's break all that down. This is what one of the things I love about this time is most people, like, I've worked from home most of my career, right? Except for traveling and then going to workshops and speaking and stuff like that. So when I see people all in their sweatsuits, I'm like, yeah, welcome to my
Welcome to the
life.
club.
It's like, yeah, like, why not? Why not be comfortable? What is all this artifice, and why do we have these costumes that we must put on every day? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous to me. It's like, we should be comfortable human beings and reserve the costumes for dressing up, for having fun. I don't. That's my take on it.
Yeah. So th- those are the views which I also have sometimes. And but then the office culture and those kind of things, when you are working somewhere, is something which I think people always have their own. When founders are there, or people who are in HR and those kind of lines, they have their own vision about how a company should look like, rather than what the culture should be. It is more about how it should look like in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where I think the gap comes, where the culture is not built by people, it is built by how people look in a way, and just to be bit more professional in a setup. So rightly pointed out. uh, it We are just at the end of our podcast now, so we do a 30-minute or 30 odd minute podcast. And I had a great time talking to you. So usually I ask two questions, which is at the end, and though we had a very broad topic today, which we tried to answer or discuss, for how somebody's mind should be and how can we be us in the online world, which is a difficult part for a lot of people. So you have run your own agency, and you see a lot of times things are changing, and in the online world it is changing every 6 months, 8 months. So how do you learn the new things which are there? So what is your source of learning?
Mm.
I see a lot of books behind, but are they just
Oh,
for a good background, or you read them?
oh yeah. There's My house is cluttered with books, and there's boxes in my storage unit outside. Like, I want to live in a library, like a tropical library. That's my dream.
Great.
Tropical library with a sunroof. um, Yeah, I love reading. I mean, I got back into a really good rhythm with reading. I've read 7 books this since the year began, which I have not
Oh,
read that prolifically in a long time. So it
yeah.
feels
So
really good.
that's a very good speed to go through books.
Like,
Yeah.
just soaking it up. And because if you're getting offline more often, you're very focused with your time online, then you have
Yeah.
more time to like do what you did when you were a kid. And I was lucky enough not to have the internet in my face as a kid. So I know what it's like to have to what do you do when you're bored? Just read or draw or something. Anyway, source of learning. I think other things is like, look at what young people are doing. Like, they are always on top of everything, right? It's like, go on TikTok and see what people are doing, or go on
Yeah.
Reddit and just explore and see what people are talking about. Um, I think those are my biggest source. And then I'm just a big comedy fan, so I'm constantly watching comedy and listening to comedy, and they often comment on what's going on topically.
Yeah.
So that's often a source as well. Yeah.
So that is a good way of, I think, gaining the news also. So if you should see the uh, last night with somebody, or maybe,
John Oliver. Yeah.
yeah. So and those kind of things, where you get information also, and then it is on the lighter note in a way, and you get a lot of things. You are top of what is happening in the places around you, and it always helps. Great. And the second question, which is, so how do you keep yourself motivated? in a way,
Mm.
motivated to do what you intend to do, because procrastination in this online world is increasing day by day. People tend to give a lot of deadlines and are not able to meet them. And how do you focus on things that you want to do? So what is your mantra for
Oh yeah, that is so tough.
that?
I just made friends with another Reddit guy. He's very prolific on there, Simon, and he has this habit reframe method, I think it's called, that he talks about. Highly recommend. It's super cool.
Okay.
But I guess what I do is try to focus. So it's so easy to get distracted and have a million things we want to be doing, and especially people who are too tend towards creative and running businesses, we
True.
can be idea people and go like, "Oh, shiny object. Oh, I like this. What about this squirrel?" And so it's focus. What is the most important thing right now to either nourish you or build your business in the case of leaders and entrepreneurs? And it's, if it's creating that next piece of content, that's your only job. If it, for me, it's creating these tiny tips videos. I made it a deal with myself. Every Tuesday I release it. And so if
Yeah.
I'm feeling distracted, it's like, that is my only job today. Just this one thing, right? And then block time for it and make that time sacred. Throw your phone away, turn it off, like get it out of your face. I think that's the biggest thing, is to get the distractions away from you, because it's discipline. The only answer is discipline. You just have to make it a habit and honor the time, and then reward yourself for doing it, even if it's just a silly little like, yay, woohoo, I did it. All the neuroscientists swear by it. It's like BJ Fogg is great, right? He wrote Tiny Tips, and that's one of the things. He's like, you got to reward yourself, that little like dopamine hit, even if it's just like, yay, I did it, to yourself. Yeah. And take breaks, go outside, get in nature, take a walk. We can only sustain our focus for so long.
Great. Uh, Thanks a lot for all the advices that you gave today. The last part, the of walking in the nature is something which I recommend also to everybody once in a while. And once in a while, go in the woods, live there. It will always help you clear your head a lot. Go in the woods, live there without internet. That is the must. Finding a place where internet does not come is difficult nowadays, but you will definitely find it in 300 miles. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot for doing this. I had a great time hosting you. Hopefully, you also had a great time, and our audience will always learn a lot of things from you. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.